Today I'm going to show you how to create a new virtual machine in Hyper-V. This is actually in Windows 8.1. So first, I'll open up the Hyper-V Manager. You'll notice I already have one virtual machine in here, Windows XP. I'm going to create a new virtual machine. So over here to the right, you'll see a little new. If you click on that, it can ask you what you want. You want to create a new virtual machine. This is just an intro screen. You can read through it, do whatever you want. Click Next. You need to name the virtual machine. I'm going to make a new virtual machine using the Linux distro called Kali. So K-A-L-I. You can choose where to store the virtual machine. Typically in a production environment, you probably want to store the actual virtual machine on a separate hard drive from your base machine, but since this is not a production environment, I'm just going to go ahead and use the default. Click Next. Generation 1 and Generation 2. Generation 1 allows all operating systems, and since this is a Linux distro, we'll use that. Generation 2 provides support for SCSI boot, PXE boot, those types of things, but it's mainly for advanced Windows operating systems, and so I'm not going to worry about it here. The one thing to remember, though, is you can't change the generation once you've created, so I'm just going to go ahead and use Generation 1 here. Memory is your RAM, so I'm going to go ahead and give Kali 1 gigabyte, which would be around 1,024 megabytes of RAM. You can use dynamic memory, but that allows, actually, if your machine starts to get overloaded, it can actually consume more than you've entered in the startup. Some production servers you might want to do this, but I'm not going to do it here because I want to make sure it keeps it at least at 1 gigabyte or below. If you want to connect it to a network, you can select that network here. I've created a network here that's a private network. You can also connect it to the network later. This is just like plugging in a network port. I'm going to go ahead and select the network I created. Click Next. This is where you actually create the hard drive or the virtual hard drive. You can either create a virtual hard drive, use an existing if you've already created it before, or attach one later and not create one at this time. I'm going to go ahead and create one at this time. Again, I'm just going to use the default, though you might want to select a different area. I'm also going to tone down the size of the hard drive. This one's using 127 gigabytes. I just don't need that for Kali. I'm going to go ahead and just use 20 gigabytes. Again, you can choose this based on what you think you'll need it for and how you're going to use it. Click Next. If you want to choose to install the operating system later, that would work. You can also install the operating system from a CD or from a bootable floppy disk or network-based if you had a PXE or something like that. I have an image file, and so you can actually do the physical CD if you have a physical CD-ROM or the image file. I'm going to click on image file. If I browse on my computer, this PC, on the C drive I have something called ISOs, and there's the most recent version of the Kali Linux ISO, so I can click on that and click Next. That will basically allow that when I finish this and it starts up, it will go right into reading that CD as the CD that it needs to install from. So now I have this Kali window. I can double click on it. It actually opens up a console. If I click on Start, it'll actually connect to that ISO disk that it thinks is a bootable DVD, and you can go into the install from here. And so that's how you install or set up a new virtual machine within Hyper-V in Windows 8.1.